In the information ecology group, what we're trying to do is take a certain level of machine understanding because the information around us is often complex and hard to understand. It can be that way because there's so much of it. I think there's very few of us who don't feel overwhelmed by the amount of information that comes our way these days, whether it's personal communications or all of the rich resources out on the web that we can tap into. So we have the issue of too much information at some level. We have the issue that the information can be diffuse. So it's spread out, it's all over the place, it's remote to us often. If we think about this in financial terms, if we try to have an understanding of how am I doing financially, I have a dozen different financial accounts with different providers and different kinds of providers, from my retirement to my mortgage to my bank to my investments to my credit cards. I might know how much money I have today, even if I could synthesize all that together, but I'm not quite sure what that means in terms of how much money I'll have in a year or 10 years or when I retire. So we have all of this complex information. We can use machine understanding to help turn it into something that's human understandable. But then there's kind of the question of what's the right time, place, and manner to give us that machine digested information so that we can really take advantage of it and so that it will really affect our decision making and what we do with our lives. As a really quick example, I could maybe try to turn all that financial information I described earlier, plus a little bit of knowledge about my goals. How much money do I need for the holidays? When do I want to buy a new car? Do I want a house? Do I have kids who need to go to college? What do I want for my retirement? Take those goals, take my current inflows and outflows of money, and maybe reduce it down to just like 2 bits, four values, like your spending is on target. Maybe you need to slow it down a bit. Maybe you need to slow it way down if you want to meet your goals. My 4th bit might be, hey, live a little better. You're not only on target, but you could actually live a little better. So maybe I've got these 4 values. How would I let you know? I could build an app, but would you ever look at it? Would you look at it at the right time? Would you remember it? Or maybe I could deliver it to you in some other way. Like we built a project we called Proverbial Wallets, where we tie that information right into your wallet, into its hinge, so that as you open your wallet, it can be easier or harder to open. And as your wallet gets harder to open, just as your clothes get tighter, you kind of maybe know you need to change your lifestyle a little bit. And so it's not something that's always there in your face, but it's also not something that you forget about and therefore it doesn't help you. And so trying to figure out sort of that arc of going from things that might be more data sciences based, machine understanding, often the cloud, but all the way through the systems that can deliver that information to you, and finally into how to actually make you aware of it in a way that fits in with your life, is kind of the arc of things we like to think about and sort of call an information ecology. Clearly we're using the word ecology metaphorically. We don't mean literally what an ecological scientist would mean, but thinking of it as an ecosystem, how you get your information, how you act on your information, how your information acts on you in some ways. Look at that more as an ecosystem rather than as a bunch of point solutions, or a single unifying device that does it all for you. How do we create an ecology of devices, services, and systems that together allow you to meet your goals, be efficient and proficient, and live a better life. In trying to look at this question of the Internet of Things, or an ecology of devices that you might find all around you, that each one's got a little bit of digital and helps you to live your life, naturally the question goes to what are the devices that are already in our lives, and maybe maybe they're the low-hanging fruit of where we should apply these ideas. So I've done a lot of looking at and thinking about consumer electronics and television, and how maybe these devices could be transformed into my information ecology platform. of how I can deliver these notions and ideas. And in particular, I've had done a lot of thinking around television, because television, first of all, there's 97, I think, % of households in the United States have television. It has tremendous reach, and it's already got a very rich dynamic display. It's got processing. It's got connectivity. It's increasingly got two-way connectivity. So it seems like the perfect place to take a look. But, I mean, people use their television for certain things. And so when you're taking a look at television as perhaps a more central information resource in people's lives, I don't think you want to try and transform it too quickly from being a television and just look at it like a screen on a computer. And towards these goals, what we've been calling kind of the work we've been doing is social television, is thinking about how to put television more in the service of society rather than strictly entertainment. And when we look at social television, we look at it a little bit differently than I think that term is getting known for right now. Right now, I think if you ask somebody what does social television mean, a typical person, they would think of something that's some combination of messaging plus television. Like, how do my friends, how do I and my friends converse around what's on television right now as we're watching it? And how do we maybe do it through text messaging or something like that? And to them, social television is some system of that kind of nature, and it's can go from the complex to quite simply sitting there using your text messaging while you're watching TV. But we see all kinds of other opportunities that have to do with how can the audience engage with the creators, not just with each other. So how does the entertainment become, and information become more sculpted towards the audience? How does it perhaps address goals, bigger social goals like education, like health? How do we build health systems that take advantage of all these people sitting around screens? So in the class I teach on social television this term, one of the example projects that came out of it that I thought was quite clever is one that tries to encourage people to meet up in ways that are not in front of the television by using their time in front of the television. So if it notices a bunch of people are, for example, watching a TV show about whales, and maybe you're friends because it's tied into their social networks, it might say to them all, there's a special performance or exhibit about whales happening right now at the aquarium. Maybe you'd all like to plan a time to get together and go see it. Or if it notices that, on my block, on my street, there are, 12 10-year-olds who are all sitting around watching soccer, it might suggest to them, would you like to play a game of soccer? Let's all meet up at the park in 15 minutes. And we can do something like that. So that's a very sort of different notion, I think, of social television. Another project that's grown out of the class that's actually sort of getting out there in the world right now, it's being built, is the idea of being able to delve more into political advertising. So I've just seen this ad on TV about the presidential race, and I'm kind of wondering who's behind it. Who are they supporting? What are the issues? What's the, what are people saying about the truthiness of this ad? And so those former students are now building a system and a platform for letting you ask those questions out there.